Typically in our day, when we introduce ourselves, what do we normally say? Like Jack. Jack. I always pick on you because you sit right there. You do. All right. This is the problem of having a set seat. How would you introduce yourself to us if we didn't know you?
I am Jack Richardson.
Pleased to meet you. Well, very good. Nice to meet you too. That's your son John at the end of the pew. How would you introduce yourself? She would laugh. And you probably would, wouldn't you? No. What would you say? She was, I won't say that out loud. Jack, how would you do it? Of course, I just told everyone your name, so now what are you going to say? Nice to meet you. Okay, none of you did it. How would you say it? My name is Alexis. Alexis Richardson. Okay, now, in reality, if we were going to introduce ourselves to someone we didn't know, and someone said, who are you, I would probably introduce myself. My name is Pastor Julie Bailey. I'm the pastor of Ascension Lutheran Church, right? Don't we often define ourselves by what we do? Do we not? So Jack would say, I'm a student at White Pine, sorry, graduated you already. You're done. Don't need to go to school anymore. But we say sort of what we do. We define ourselves by that. But 20 years or so ago, I would say, hi, my name is Julie Bailey. I'm a nurse. And that's how I define myself. So some ways I can relate to the fisherman because I'm Julie Bailey. I'm a nurse. Helped define who I was. I knew who I was in some ways by what I did. And so Peter would probably introduce himself. Hi, my name is Peter. I'm a fisherman. Until he was called out and said, follow me. I can imagine that Peter and Andrew and James and John felt some loss of identity. They had been fishermen and probably thought they were going to be fishermen until they died. But now, hi, my name is Peter. And I follow this man around. Your identity gets sort of lost in that. But we often define ourselves by who we are. And it takes a while for us to think in our heads to tell you anything more about me. I'm Julie Bailey. I'm a bit of an idealist. I think I'm compassionate. We all know I'm forthright. And I can be quite stubborn. It wasn't meant for a laugh. It's just true. And I know some of you can say similar things. But it takes a while. We define ourselves by who we know. So here we have Peter and Andrew fishing. And Jesus walks by them and simply says, follow me. And it's always odd to me that that's exactly what they did. They just left behind everything and followed Jesus. And then he said, because I'm going to make you fish for people. Jesus knew the gifts that these fisher people had. The gift of knowing when to throw the net, of knowing what to keep and what to toss when those fish weren't ready yet. And so God is sort of saying, I'm going to use those gifts that you have and have you follow me so that you can now fish for people using those same skills that you already have. But there's a cost to being a disciple, to following Jesus, isn't there? Sometimes we don't always think about this because we like to follow Jesus when there's an advantage for us. That's a good time to follow Jesus. But there's a cost. And if we look at James and John, let's think about the cost that they went through. First of all, who were they in the boat with? Their father. They got out of the boat that had their father in it and followed Jesus. Quite strange. It broke sort of the social norm, and it also meant that they were leaving their father. They probably weren't able to support the business financially anymore or support their families. They weren't able to contribute. It was probably a family sort of business. It was expected that all the sons would be fishermen. And they may not be there when Zebedee died or to care for him in his old age. It's a cost when they decide to follow Jesus. what cost is there for us? Why is it sometimes that we don't like to follow Jesus? Have you ever thought of that? I'm sure we're all 100% followers and we do it all the time. But what would be some of the reasons why we struggle to follow Jesus? You don't ever struggle. Oh, I have no trouble then. Yes, Miriam. Okay, so there might be things that we like a lot too, like we worship money. Yeah, we sort of want to worship what the world says we all need, right? And we need money, we need fame, we need power. And then we have Jesus who says, you don't need any of that, you just need me. And so we try to sort of live sometimes as if we can have both. We can have all the money in the world and work for money, and we can follow Jesus. And Jesus says, oh no, you can't do that. You can't have it both ways. At best, that leaves us sort of with a lukewarm faith. You know, we follow Jesus when it's advantageous to us, but if what we want is what the world has to give, we follow the world. So yeah, so that's a cost. We don't always maybe like the direction that Jesus is going. What else? We don't want to leave our families. Yeah, if I don't know how I would do if I had to walk away from my father who was in that boat and knowing that I would never see him again or could never see him again. Yeah, that would be hard. And we know that in some places throughout the world, it's exactly what people who follow Jesus do. Where Christianity is illegal, it sometimes means that when they are called to follow Jesus and they leave their family behind and their family actually disowns them. Still happens in our world today. What else? What are some other reasons why we don't? Huh? People make fun of us, call us Jesus freaks, or I was called church lady. Bible thumper, yep. Okay, sometimes it's hard to do it, to love someone and to forgive someone. Sometimes it's even ourselves. When we're called to love and forgive ourselves, that can be the hardest. Miriam. We're sinners. Okay, so sometimes there's even this question of, does Jesus exist? Because we can't see him like Peter and Andrew and James and John could. We don't see the one saying, follow me, do we? So it's sometimes hard to follow because there's a lot of people who put doubts in our minds, aren't there? And sometimes it's us who puts the doubts in our minds. All right? Okay, so was it just made up? Yeah. I struggle with that sometimes, but I have a hard time believing that a made-up story would last over 2,000 years. I don't know. So I personally sort of have to trust and believe it's true because I've never known anybody be able to keep a lie that long. Usually they get caught in it first. So, okay, so it's hard to believe, it's hard to follow. You know, I sort of like to follow people when they're going the right direction. And you know what the right direction is? My direction, yeah. When they're walking in front of me and going my direction, I'm perfectly fine. But if they start going another direction that seems hard, I just kind of step out of line and I'll pick you up when you're going in the right direction again. Yeah, following Jesus is hard. But that's exactly what we're called to do. To follow Jesus. To follow Jesus every step, because Jesus is the one who has been there before, who knows where we're going, who knows every place we will be, who fills up everything in our hearts and our minds that the world, no matter how much money we have, no matter how much fame we have, no matter how much of anything we have, it will never be forever. But Jesus' love will be forever. And so we are called to follow, even when it is difficult. Now, I find it interesting as I work sometimes with thinking of evangelism is, what was the evangelism strategy? You know that? We always try to find the little evangelism thing that's going to click for us to get people to follow. What is Jesus' strategy? Did you see one in there, a plan? Didn't he just say, follow me? Just an invitation, come and see? That was last week's lesson too. Come and see, follow me. And sometimes we need to be reminded how simple it is of what Jesus asks us to do and what we're called to do.